Only 4 laps remain in the Leftington 500, and things are coming right down to the wire. Rob Crashtain needs to make up at least 2 spots on Daniel Howard, or he'll be eliminated from the championship. I'm not sure what else he can do. He's gonna have to make some real magic happen if he wants to be able to make those overtakes. It's hard to pass here at Leftington. One more time around, sponsored by Deep State Bank.
Slingshot engaged.
Rob Crashtain has done it! I have never seen anything like that before. Hey everyone, my name is Raymond and I'm a game developer and the creator of games like The Street King. Welcome to my 9th devlog for Left Turn Legend, the best game to play if you want to turn left for hours on end. It's now been over 2 years since I started working on the game. As the game is getting closer and closer to release, progress is slowing down as I'm spending more time fine-tuning and polishing small details. Still, I've made a lot of cool changes since the last devlog. After getting some feedback from a friend, I finally decided to spend more time with the game's color palette. Before, the palette looked like this. Everything was super saturated, which made it difficult to differentiate what is and isn't important. So, I significantly toned down the saturation of background objects like the crowd and track walls. I also experimented with shifting the hue a bit for some colors, like making the yellows less green. I kept foreground components like power-ups and other cars about the same. Since everything else is less saturated though, they're a lot more visible. One of the biggest challenges of getting the colors right was the daylight cycle. In the previous devlog, I added a dynamic sky. There's a ton of parameters which control lighting throughout the day, and making sure that the game's colors look good in all lighting conditions was tough. I generally tried benchmarking how things looked at 4 different times of day: noon, sunset, midnight, and sunrise. In addition to overhauling the look of the environment, I spent some time fine-tuning the user interface as well. The first thing you might notice is the brand new scrolling ticker at the top of the screen. It shows some rankings and target scores to beat. I personally really like it since it gives an old school TV broadcast vibe. If you zoom out to see how the ticker is actually done, you also get to see that the entries just appear and disappear once they go far enough. Of course, you'll never actually see this in real gameplay. Another big change I made was to the title screen. I did a couple of polls over in my Discord server to try to find the best layout, and this is what I have at the moment. The race button is animated to draw attention to it, along with this little crate icon in the top right corner. I wonder what that's for. It's finally time to go over how Left Turn Legend's economy will work. Coins can be collected on the track or earned from sponsors when you complete their objectives. From there, they can be used to buy crates.
Aw, $20. I wanted a peanut. $20 can buy many peanuts. Explain how. Money can be exchanged for goods and services.
Woohoo! When you open a crate, you'll get a random reward, which can be a new car, a sponsorship deal, and more. Now, I know that random elements in games like loot boxes are kind of controversial, but this is a free mobile game. In-app purchases have to come into play somewhere, so I guess this is the start of my villain arc. In addition to purchasing them, you can also pick up crates during normal gameplay. They'll sometimes spawn directly on the track. However, they'll be bouncing chaotically off of other cars, so they can be pretty challenging to get. Every proper sports stadium needs to have some big screens, and Leftington Speedway is no exception. There were a number of different approaches I could try for creating Jumbotrons. A pretty common one in games is to just cycle through some pre-made graphics. However, I thought it would be a lot cooler if the screens actually showed what was happening in-game instead of having random images which might not fit the current situation. Unfortunately, mobile devices aren't the most powerful, so I need a solution that's not too resource intensive. Having a live feed to the screen using its own separate camera can absolutely tank performance. In cases like this, it's nice to look at other games and see what their solutions are. I found one solution in maybe an unlikely spot: Smash Bros for the Switch. In Pokemon Stadium, they also have a screen in the background. I noticed that this background screen doesn't actually display any new footage. Instead, it basically copies what's already on the screen. I realized that this copying would probably be a good solution to my problem as well. We can take the view that the player already sees and chop off the top and bottom so that the dimensions are now correct. Then, this gets copied over to the screen texture. As a result, the scene only needs to be rendered once, but we're still able to get a live video feed on the Jumbotrons. To finish selling the illusions of these screens, all I had to do was add a few more effects to distort it and tint the colors. For the past few devlogs, I've added the same number of cars as the devlog number. There's 7 new cars for Devlog 7, and this one is no exception. For Devlog 9, I added 9 new cars to the game. 8 of these are trucks, since I wanted to build up the game's Truck Cup roster. The last is a 2022 Legends Cup car called the Patriot Warhead. It's a modern version of the 70s Patriot, which is already in the game. 3 of the trucks come from the 90s, and other 4 are from the 2000s. The last truck is the 2020 Brute, making it so that there are now 4 each of Legends and Truck Cup cars for the current decade. There's still a lot more polishing and boring behind the scenes work that needs to be done before Left Turn Legend will be ready for release. However, most of the core mechanics are already finished, and the majority of the work I have left besides polishing comes down to either adding more cars and content, or implementing functionality for things like leaderboards. It might be a while before Devlog 10 comes out, but when it does, I think it'll be the last devlog before Left Turn Legend's release. We're in the home stretch now, and that's pretty exciting. I'd like to give a huge thanks to my King patrons, GrandAM67 and TheLegomaniac10, for supporting me and my projects. If you'd like to support me as well, please check out my Patreon page in the video description. I'd also like to thank everyone for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate all of your support, and I'll see you all in the next video.